Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 5th episode of what I've been calling the Cultist Simulator Library Run. This is the start of a new week, and I'm in a little bit of trouble on this run. One of the interesting challenges for this has been trying to figure out... for those of you that haven't maybe followed Cultist Simulator all that long, or maybe... I guess it depends in terms of how you engage with games and such, but one of the things about Cultist Simulator is that all of the files in the game, in terms of how the cards work and what decks they're drawn from, all of this stuff is actually available inside the game's directories. So if you go, I'm playing this on Steam, so if you go under Properties and you take a look at the local files, you can basically see everything that you have access to in the game. Now, there's also going to be things that have remained in the game that aren't actually used. But it would be fair to say that if you want to try and do something in Cultist Simulator and you are not sure whether or not you can, there aren't necessarily a lot of secrets in terms of what's available. And in fact, it's this fact that allowed me to do that article it's called The Networks of Cultist Simulator. I think a few of you have already asked for the link to that, but if it's not clear what I'm talking about, just leave a comment and I'll be sure to give another link inside of it. The only thing is, every time I say I'm going to put it in the description, I either forget or people know what I'm talking about. But anyways, the big deal here is that if you want, in theory, like if you're going to do a speed run, if you're going to do anything, it's quite possible to sort of sit down and plan out your entire run ahead of time. And I was actually debating on doing that here because it's not something that I've really done for a game. But there are two things that sort of drove me otherwise. So number one, it's not... I kind of know Cultist Simulator pretty well. I still get people who try to tell me how the game works, and most of the time it's not correct, actually. Or at the very least, it's based on a limited understanding, in that if there's sort of a greater appreciation in terms of what's being attempted, usually it'll show that, it's not the only way, or that there may be other things to do. But I mean, I think that's just going to be part of doing content. Yeah, so it kind of started off saying, it's like, okay, is this feasible? And I had a reasonable indicator that it is, but based on my understanding, and I did do a little bit of research on this, I think I've actually put this run into sort of an unachievable. So I can win it for sure, but I don't believe I can achieve the goal that I'm looking for, which is to have one of every single book on the desktop, or one of every text. So just for reference, Sturm is a text, as is something deep mystery something. But the note that you get from the benefactor at the start of the Aspirant playthrough, that I'm not quite counting yet. I mean, you can always make your own judgments in terms of what you want. It's not like this is some kind of a community challenge or something like that. And there's a couple of things that originally made me think that maybe this actually might be a lot easier than I thought it was, and it may be. But as it happens, I believe the item that I didn't get from Oriflammes is only available at Oriflammes. And of course, Oriflammes is now only going to be producing something deep mystery something. And so I could pursue the run as I am right now, but ultimately I'm not going to be able to achieve that overall goal. I can say, the Library -1 run, but we're early enough on this playthrough that I do actually kind of want to try and run for the full thing. And this is an opportunity for me to learn. So one of them would be, if you are going to try and attempt to do a challenge like this, you really need to keep on top of Oriflammes, because it's one of those cases where, it's the only place where you may actually be able to get a certain text. So with that in mind, I know this is a long introduction, but that's a bit of a word in terms of how this is going to be structured. It's a little bit like The Exile, where if I get into a situation where I feel like I can't achieve what we're looking for, that's fine. We'll just go into another run. But it does mean that part of the challenge as well is figuring out how to gracefully end this one. So we will look at the... we'll find an ending for Ivan here. Alright, we will not hire. Rival is considering an expedition. My rival seeks tools and lore for their own ascension. So this we're not that worried about. And we're currently investigating. Trying to turn it into damning evidence. Alright, nap to recover from fatigue. I am refreshed. And we got the Course of the Heart. Okay. So I believe we were heading towards an upgraded... Steely Physique. Now, again, we're kind of concerning ourselves with ending this particular playthrough. I mean, I could try and starve myself to death with 25 wealth, but I have an idea. Right, my investigation has turned up no new leads, so let's take the inspector's position again. I need to make sure I have enough reason to be able to deal with any temptations. Time the sundial's shadow passes. I must have funds to live, or I will become ill. And there's an investigation that's going to be starting on me, but I'm not that worried about it because there's nothing to turn up. So we're napping to recover from fatigue to try and provoke a Course from the Heart again. And then we're also using our health to investigate the city, just because, again, Course of the Heart is helpful for getting health. Alright, I might have found somewhere unusual. I think we'll keep going with the health. That's probably the best option. Alright, I'm ready to grow stronger. Use this lesson learnt with your strength skill. So in this case, we will study the health. And this would be a shifty woman, not that important to us right now. So one of the priorities here, as far as the dream slot is concerned, if I can recover the health, is not so much that I need it, but again, it's a chance for me to provoke the Course of the Heart. All right, so we've got our damning evidence now. In this case, I think I'll employ 2 reason. Yes. Investigating a target, the more reason I use, the better my chances of success. And we have found Valsine. Okay, let's keep talking about the Megalesian incantation, and let's see. Hopefully we'll be able to lock away Laidlaw, but it depends. It depends how these 44 seconds turn out. I am refreshed. So under normal circumstances here, I probably would have taken, if I was pursuing the run as I originally conceived it, what I probably would have been doing here would be alternating between the physical labor and the investigations, for the simple reason it could have generated some more vitality for me, but that's not really important right now. We'll continue to study health. Better not, I must be careful of the company I keep, and of course we search the city again. So in 12 seconds we'll see whether or not Laidlaw gets picked up. And we've got a Season of Despair coming up. Okay, so I wasn't really expecting that we would make any progress here. I can, in this case, because we know the Season of Despair is coming up, we can afford to throw all 3 reason in. This, of course, brings me... I actually don't recall if this is a guarantee or not. Yeah. But in this case here, I wanted to lock that in on the odd chance that the temptation doesn't wind up making me read the file, but rather picks up Laidlaw and we're not able to arrest him. Okay, there's that Course of the Heart we were looking for. We are going to have to combine up the vitality, otherwise we lose it. But I'm happy to I'm happy to let things run. Again, it's a little weird getting in a situation like this when you're broadcasting, because I like seeing things through to the end, even if it's a minor ending that I'm going for, something you'd consider a loss, like falling to despair. And there's actually some achievements that I could get, because the achievements were added into the game long after I sort of started running into... Actually, there's a conversation we had in some of the comments, the idea, and on the broadcast as well, this idea of involuntary endings. And it sounds like, the worst possible kind of like achieve or participation trophy description for the ends, but it's kind of important, because when you play a game like Cultist Simulator, it is very focused on the narrative, and it's an opportunity for you to sort of decide where, what's interesting to you, and maybe where you want a particular story to go. To me, calling it... So I'll give you a good example here. Like, one of the ways I could end it would be bleak thoughts, do some activities that'll generate some despair, and get that ending there. Now, I think most people will say that this is a bad thing, this is a loss, and absolutely inside of Cultist Simulator, this is why I call it an involuntary ending. You want to achieve a particular thing, and you don't wind up achieving it because you get that ending otherwise. The one reason why I don't like just calling them losses, though, is that unlike a lot of other outcomes in a game, so I was playing the Dead Space remake recently, right? There is something kind of to be said about Dead Space. It has all sorts of horrible ways for your character to die, and I suspect there is a little bit of some of the appeal, let's say, is the opportunity to see stuff like that. One of the things I find very funny for myself is in games like that, the tension that I feel is very often dissipated once I actually do hit one of the fail states. So, you die, you see something horrible happen to your character, and to me that actually creates a tremendous sense of relief for me, because ultimately whatever is depicted in the game, and Dead Space is not exactly known for the tameness of its death animations or anything like that. But it's the old, adage about how, monsters work in movies or things like that. You can never imagine, they can never conceive of something more horrible than what you can imagine on your own. And so this fear that I'm going to see something really awful always gives way to, a certain relaxation once I know that the game is not going to, leap out of my monitor and come after me. And this is also true for, Outlast would be a great example of this. Found the game very, very suspenseful, but once somebody finally did catch me, and I saw one of the deaths, even a really intimidating character like Chris Walker, who's one of the main antagonists for the early part of the game, that completely destroyed any panic I had, and I largely played it sort of like an adventure game at that point. So all that I'm trying to say is that games have gotten a bit better now, I feel, in terms of giving you something for your failure, for your loss. But I still feel that Cultist Simulator handles its failures, well, not its failures, but the player failing, in an interesting way that I'm not entirely sure is comparable to a lot of other games. In the case of Cultist Simulator, if you have bought DLC, you can select any of the DLC that you've bought if you want. I don't normally do that because it's kind of fun to get the random draw. But in the case of the legacies for Cultist Simulator, you are guaranteed to get a certain legacy depending on the ending that you got. As it happens, that was one of the reasons why we saw 2 exiles at the start of this playthrough. And I think this is an underappreciated element, because I think, number one, a lot of those legacies tend to actually be ones that solve the problem that your previous run fell to, which I think is kind of neat. But number two, again, whether you choose to go for, let's say, a minor ending, just because you thought that would be an interesting direction for the story to go, or it was something involuntary, in the end, you are getting access to something. And to a certain extent, if you're trying to do some sort of a challenge, like maybe you want to try and do, you know, one of every legacy or one of every ending with no repetitions, you know, that might be kind of fun to think what's the right order in which you have to do things. Technically you can't, because if you want to do the apostle victories, you have to get the ascent. Actually, no, hang on. So there's 3 different. Yeah, I think you could actually probably do. But I think for all of the different endings, you'd have to at least repeat certain legacies. But yeah, in any case, all that I wanted to say here is that the way that the endings work in Cultist Simulator, I don't know if it's widely known that you are actually guaranteed certain endings. I think they've added some text since the game, or since more legacies were added. But when you get certain endings, even the quote unquote bad ones, you do actually get a you wind up with a you get basically one other one. So I think if you die of starvation, for instance, you'll get the bright young thing, if I recall correctly. I could be off in terms of some of the in terms of some of the specifics, but anyways, I've turned over my evidence to the Assistant Director General of the Suppression Bureau. At this moment, I can assume hard-faced men in plain clothing are pounding on the door of my quarry. The Suppression Bureau holds their trials in closed courts. They are not merciful. My quarry disappears from the world. Quarry disappears from the world. I have earned myself a promotion. All right. A kind of ascension. I've won favor with the authorities. I could use this to win myself a promotion to a place in the hierarchy of the Bureau itself. I think the music will get a bit loud 46 seconds from now. Another miscreant? Will it ever end? Can we ever call the law, the city, the world safe? It's not my problem. We don't even need to worry about our ambitions. Better not. I must be careful of the company I keep. Another course of the hearts. This guy's gonna be raging when he finds out I get to move up in the hierarchy. Ambition's tide. I will rise high and higher yet. My affairs will prosper. You know, we'll let the music say. I'm trying to remember if there's an achievement for this one or not, because I don't actually think I've got it. Like I said, there's a few very basic ones that I there's a few very basic ones which I don't have yet because achievements were added so much later to the game. Obviously, it doesn't make sense to have achievements for a game that's still in development. But ambition's tied. I will rise higher and higher yet. My affairs will prosper. I will fill a fine house with elegant things. I will be honored by my peers and slandered by my rivals. I will grow used to the sound of my name. Then one day I will die, and sometime after that, my name will be heard no more. Hey, we've got the detective again. Okay, so here we go. Always available after ambition's tied, so the game does tell you. So we have the aspirant and the dancer. So there's some things that I'd like to do with the dancer, and there's actually one I would like to try with the aspirant, but I rather liked this idea. So one of my challenges in Cultist Simulator is how do I put it? Like, I take too long. Like, I get very comfortable in the game. And I don't necessarily feel any need to sort of move ahead until I'm good and ready. And one of the things that's neat about the detective is that if I drag my feet too much, I wind up, either locking away someone, or they potentially ascend. And I do actually like the idea of doing my regular inspector's job. So I think we're going to do another detective run again. I think I'll also use the same name. All right, I am an inspector with the Capital's Police, charged with the investigation of the most vile and wretched things that one human does to another. And if you will forgive me, I'm going to just quickly browse the files, and it's because I don't remember the keys for... I'm terrible with the accent. If it's a Apple keyboard, I'm fine. I can get exactly what I need. I have never been able to work out accents on a PC. Just one of those things. So we are going to continue exactly the way we have before, but we're going to keep a closer eye on Oriflammes. And I will see if there's any other little innovations that I can make in terms of the work. Right. At the station, once again I've been seconded to the Suppression Bureau, the government office which concerns itself with occult crimes. Actually, hang on. Can I just do unskilled labor? Ha! Backbreaking work for meager pay. Is this the best I can do? So the funny thing here is I can actually start myself on an upgrade for my... I can start myself on an upgrade for my... health without the ticking clock of the inspector's position. This is ridiculous, but it's actually also not a very interesting way to play for the purposes of this playthrough, so. But we're committed to it now, so I'll do one more round of that, and then we will begin our investigation proper. As you can see, like, some of this stuff... Oh, here we go. So time is passing. So time passes... time, the sundial's shadow, passes. I must have funds to live, or I will become ill. At the station, once again, I've been seconded to the Suppression Bureau, the government office which concerns itself with occult crimes. The Bureau has a poor reputation. Yeah, as you can see, this sort of stuff is kind of why I don't like being too gamey with the sorts of things that I do. Like, I just generally find making interesting decisions to be a little bit more rewarding, because in the end, sitting down, doing a no-risk move sometimes is a little, I don't know, just a little less interesting. Be wary, the Bureau has identified a troublesome individual I am to investigate. My breath tightens when I see the name. There was another case, one I remember all too well. Okay, so more fatigued health In 30 seconds we'll have access. Well, that won't matter actually, because if it's available in 30 seconds, then we'll just clear it out. Alright, Rose, troublemaker. Rose has long since ceased to fear her enemies, and we have a sealed bureau file. A file on the enigmatic Ivan Vucetic, or possibly Vucetic. I sealed it myself. I am all too familiar with its contents. If I were to revisit them, the dreams might begin again. So I love this detail. I wasn't 100% sure whether or not it took your previous playthrough, but I love we obviously have this idea of multiple histories in the setting of Cultist Simulator, and the reason why this is a sealed and very dangerous document is it describes someone similar enough to you, but clearly not you, and there's something just absolutely delightful about that idea. Alright, let's use our reason. Oops, what did I get wrong? Oh, right. Should have been a little faster on that, but... The Suppression Bureau publishes memoranda on the dangers of dreams. Every week there's another. Report dreams of moonlight, report dreams of night-bound forest. Draw back your curtains to be woken by the sun. Do not cut your hair before you sleep. Never sleep before a cracked mirror. Alright, so it doesn't make much sense for us to use these, use this in the dream slot yet. It will, but I need to, I need one more vitality. We should still have enough to be able to upgrade things. Okay, Season of Suspicion coming up, so I don't have too much to fear there. My bigger worry is losing the vitality, and then of course we don't want the reason to get eaten up. Alright, my investigation has turned up no new leads. So, not too bad because I don't exactly want to lock Rose away. One of the appeals of being at least reasonably quick in terms of locking away troublemakers is that it's a really good source of funds. But obviously, there are other things that I can do. One of the things that I want to prioritize absolutely off the top is I want to get as much reason as I can, as quickly as I can, both because it allows me to resist opening the sealed bureau file, but it also gives me a few more assurances in terms of my investigations. But we'll see where things go. Alright. Speaking of, no doubt somewhere out there I can find materials for study, so I think this is why they give me that extra reason, actually, specifically to help me out with that. Alright, exploring. I have a map of the capital on the wall of my office, bristling with dark-headed pins, spidery with annotations. And the scent of the pages, what hungers drive me. So, we're gonna, we'll use the reason to resist that as soon as possible. I'm just trying to think. I could try the passion here. Actually, I should have used my health now that I think of it. I know the city well, but it would take a lifetime to know it completely. Now that's interesting. Did that happen the last time we did this? I felt I needed to find at least... Oh no, I think I had to explore to find oriflammes. Alright. So I'm definitely going to follow up with Moorlands when I can, but I have a chance to use the health verb, so we're going to search the city now. And talking, I might make a friendship or end one. Alright, so nothing for the dream slot, although we will be using that with the health in a little bit. I cannot forget what I saw in the file of Ivan Vucetic. I'm gonna be patient. I'm safe for now. The meddler's attention must be elsewhere. A relief. I might have found somewhere unusual. Okay. So what we're going to do here, we're going to take this health and start restoring it. So obviously that knocks out the health for a little while here, but that's fine. It doesn't really matter the order. We will head to Oriflamme's to pick up our first book. It takes time to sort the gold from the dross, the wheat from the chaff, the blood from the water. If I buy enough books, I will find something interesting. And my reasons arrive just in time. So we'll combine these two vitality for the study verb as soon as we can. I'll employ reason to avoid getting caught up in my old investigation, and we'll pursue an investigation of Rose. Investigating a target, the more reason I use, the better my chance of success. And on that note, this is a little bit of a restart today, but I'm glad that we at least got all of our verbs and we have a clearer game plan. So that's going to be how it moves forward. No guarantees that I'll stay with the detective legacy, but I am going to be pursuing this librarian run, and the first thing that we're going to focus on is avoiding lost texts at Oriflamme's. So what I may want to do, I may not even, well, I'll have to think about it, but it may be that I don't want to exhaust Moorlands. I may want to exhaust Oriflamme's first. The thing is that if I exhaust Moorlands, it's usually an indicator that I've got enough money to be able to afford bidding wars at Oriflamme's. But that's something we'll sort out for the rest of the week. As before, so Monday, it's technically a holiday, but it's this is a pre-recorded video, so I'm not that strict in terms of holidays. But Tuesday, I do keep for myself, so that's no Cultist Simulator video for that, but we will continue the Librarian playthrough on Wednesday and for the rest of the week. So thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.